All right, so we're starting off on update number two, whatever. We got a couple things to update on, hide from the sunlight, and yeah, let's get it going. Here is a little makeshift workbench that I have set up, and here is the test color for some of the buggy. I'm thinking this metallic blue. I love it. It looks real nice. I just have to figure out how much of this I want to do in blue and how much of this I want to do in like black or something. Here I have the steering rack. It's in rough shape. It'll do though. It does still work. It functions great. It has real nice handling when it was attached to there. Turning the wheels was not a problem. I just want to get this cleaned up. This, on the other hand, is garbage. This whole steering wheel is garbage. The screws are rusted out. I need to get rid of it. The plastic piece, need to get rid of it, but I do need to keep this. I need to keep this bracket. This is what keeps the steering wheel in place on the machine. And over here we got skid plate from the front. Just gotta strip that from paint, repaint it with something else. Maybe clean up the rust. So, I've got more paint to strip. Let's get started. So I have been hard at work pulling paint off this thing. It's got a good amount of surface rust right now just because I'm leaving bare metal exposed in the Florida weather for more than a day. I got the front cover off that you might have saw last time.
Well, this is Brian from the future here, and this is me attempting to pull apart some of the stuff just mentioned previously. This is pretty much me pulling apart the front end, getting the brackets off for the steering rack, unbolting some of the stuff for the radiator, things like that. For this part, I needed to get my dad's help. He pulled out the Dremel, and then we got the top plastic piece off, which prevented me from getting access to the radiator and the steering rack, which we eventually ended up getting out of there, but it's really cramped up in the front, so it's kind of where we were at, just getting it pulled out. Once that was out, I got everything out for the radiator, got that out, got the steering rack out, and front end is good to go.
Pulled the radiator and most of the steering things. I still got to get that out. Still got to pull the tie rods and everything, but that's a process that I don't have, well, time for yet. So today I'm mostly going to be doing more paint removal. No pressure washing today. That really got me nowhere. But get a closer look at the engine that we have in here. This should, by all means, be the 23 horsepower Yamaha clone. The same one that's sitting right there. Except that one's real and this one's a clone from the factory. To be honest, I have no idea if this engine runs, will turn anything. I don't know if it has compression or whatever. I bought this and it didn't have a wiring harness. Literally nothing. It was just the engine sitting in here unplugged. Did have a carb on it, but we shoved the rag in there so it doesn't get too wet. Hopefully, if it does run. If it turns over, we can sell it, because I don't plan on using this just because I don't want to use it. I want to use something I know is good. right, well, I have a hurricane off the coast, so I'm gonna try and wrap this up, because if it decides to turn my way, I don't feel like getting caught in it today. So in the time lapse, I said fuck it, right? Since the red that I am removing is a powder coat on the original factory steel, I don't necessarily need to remove all of it. My idea was get off all of the crappy looking shit, right? So things like that down there, I'll go in, clean up real good. But things like this, for example, right here, this is perfectly smooth powder coat. As long as I get the green paint off, I will be fine. So, excuse me. That's my idea. So as I work down more, I'm going to spray more primer. This is what it is. This is a gray primer, just as a neutral black, not black. So this is a gray primer I chose specifically for, well, if I want to paint over it, I can paint over it super simple. I'm getting pretty much everything that I have bare metal cleaned up right now with the wire wheel, get all the surface rust off, spray it down with primer, and call it there. There's some pitting in some places due to the rust. Whatever, I don't care. I feel like it looks good the way it is. I can always go back in later and do more, right? Can always peel more paint off and go again. I'm not worried about it. This machine will never be a perfect, clean machine. This will never be equal to a new side-by-side. This is my this is a project that I'm starting for me and for nobody else. And if I think it looks good enough, I think it looks good enough. Because personally, I'm a bit of a perfectionist in a lot of things, which is why I was going through the great, strain of pulling off all of the powder coat. But in my mind, I think I'll be all right. So, just to give you an idea of what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna strip all the surface rust off of this, give it a quick coat of primer, and I'm gonna call it a day. Just so this rain don't come on me out of nowhere. So that's it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get this rust cleaned off. Next time we're gonna pull off the engine, I hope, as well as some of the we're gonna pull off the suspension, the wheels next time. I hope might be the updates on this are gonna be few and far between. Hopefully I can give you updates quicker than later. I really don't know. But the goal for next time, pull the engine, get the front end off, suspension pulled off, shocks off, rear end, suspension shocks off, and we're gonna call it there. So you guys have a good one.